Alert, in this video we will discuss world military geopolitics. Could the Chernobyl sarcophagus be Vladimir Putin's life insurance? Will the sarcophagus of Chernobyl be the new Trojan horse for Europe? Or will Chernobyl simply represent the rebirth of the new Soviet Empire, rising from the ashes, by Vladimir Putin? Subscribe to the channel. The fall of the former Soviet Union happened precisely with the biggest nuclear accident in history, in Chernobyl. On April 26, 1986, the Chernobyl area was the scene of the biggest nuclear accident in history, when a reactor exploded during a safety test at the plant, releasing 200 tons of radioactive material into the atmosphere. This event ended the Soviet Union. Since then, the only barrier to the immense amount of radioactivity, which is buried in the reactor of the plant, is known as the sarcophagus, a gigantic cube of concrete paid mainly by the United States, and about 30 other countries to prevent the spread of highly polluted dust radioactive. But if the artillery hits and damages the nuclear waste collectors, radioactive dust can spread across the entire territory of Ukraine, and European Union countries. On the military chessboard, it looks like Vladimir Putin is a master. If we look at how the weather winds move, in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, we can say, yes, Chernobyl is the Russians' life insurance, because an attack on the Chernobyl sarcophagus would immediately put the European Union in a nuclear desert. The winds would blow all radioactive dust from the destroyed Chernobyl sarcophagus to Europe. Mr. Vladimir Putin is indeed the smartest ruler on earth, cold and calculating, there is no doubt. It is well supported by the largest group of seers in history, without a doubt. Do you have your reasons, which may be valid? Perhaps, all sides have valid motivations. But we believe that the Russian presence in Chernobyl represents the rebirth of the new Soviet Empire, and not exactly with the objective of developing a world war. Mr. Vladimir Putin has just renewed the King of the North, the Great War Empire, the new Soviet Empire. Subscribe to the channel. Russia's takeover of Chernobyl puts the world on alert. Russia is trying to show its power, as the new Soviet Empire, and no one better than Vladimir Putin, given his KGB background, could have such a mission. In mid-2011, the presidents of Russia, Belarus and Kazakhstan, signed an agreement establishing the foundation of the Eurasian Union in 2015. Recently, Russian President Vladimir Putin annexed Kazakhstan and Belarus to the newly founded Eurasian Union, intending to rival his power with the US and the European Union. Putin denies that he is rebuilding a new USSR, but he does not hide his dream of reversing the dissolution of the Soviet Empire, as at this moment he began the annexation of the former socialist nations to the dominating influence of Russia. The Eurasian Union is described as a Machiavellian plan to rebuild an authoritarian neo-Soviet empire to supplant the global influence of the European Union. In 2012, during his return to the presidency of Russia, Vladimir Putin reaffirmed his intention to establish the Eurasian Union composed of former Soviet republics. Western nations have grown suspicious and apprehensive of the Russian historical machinist, and are worried at the prospect of a new Iron Curtain obscuring the European continent again. Putin's proposed economic bloc was presented as a rival to the European Union and a means of reasserting Russia's influence in its regional backyard. The Eurasian Economic Union, UEEA, expanded further when, in 2015, Armenia and Kyrgyzstan formally joined the trading bloc that is expected to contain all former Soviet republics. But when the UEEA showed its final form after years of planning, it revealed itself as a shadow of the economic power Putin had dreamed of. Despised by the West and most leaders of former Soviet states, as well as held back by a Russian economy sinking into recession, President Putin goes out of his way to signal that Western sanctions imposed as a punishment for the annexation of Crimea will not isolate Russia. But the fall in world oil prices that began in 2014 put Russia, one of the biggest oil producers, in a highly vulnerable position. Adding to this the effect of Western sanctions and the loss of half the ruble's value against the dollar, it can be said that in a short time Putin's imperial ambitions will fade. On the other hand, further compromising Putin's pretensions, we are faced with the counterproductive dialectic of Alexander Dugin, the bumbling Russian Nietzschean who grew a beard to look like a philosopher, but fails miserably in this role. Dugin believes that the separatist struggle in eastern Ukraine has revived the spirit of the former Russian Empire. But the current Russian Eurasian project is a distorted mirage of a post-Soviet kingdom similar to the old one, in which wealthy authoritarian leaders used each other to persevere in power, the famed communist concept of socialist elite enrichment and the impoverishment of the world proletariat. But the majority of the Russian people are reluctant to pay for the luxuries of a new communist elite, as was the case in the former USSR under the dictator Stalin. Alexander Dugin is the founder of Neo-Eurasianism and a darling of the nationalist pseudo-idiots movements that are eating away at Europe and the Americas. Its only philosophy, or centerpiece of geopolitical theory, dictates that Russia's mission is to challenge U.S. dominance in the world, the old-fashioned subservient style modeled on the old anti-Americanist Soviet era. This is Dugin's only contribution to the world, his innovative philosophy. But he is nothing but a lighthouse keeper, a poor devil spouting his Stalinist fascist speech to the masses. As he doesn't carry any real brains, Dugin appeals to the media through his bearded look. But his appearance and knowledge are nothing more than an unfortunate simulacrum of the eminent Russian philosophers, novelists, playwrights and historians, Alexander Solzhenitsyn and Fyodor Dostoevsky, who developed rigid philosophical and religious positions throughout their lives. Throughout history, Russia's notorious driving force has been achieved by usurping people's property and land, that is, taking by force and without rights something that did not belong to them. This was the root of the process of building the USSR, complemented by the distorted socialism implemented by corrupt and vengeful scoundrels from the swamps of rural properties and urban factories during the Tsarist regime. And this was the time that inspired Dugin's ideology, deeply rooted in the histories of totalitarian periods. Alexander Dugin defends the annexation of Crimea and Russian intervention in Ukraine, as well as the re-annexation of the Baltic states from the former USSR, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania. According to him, Russia must also annex Poland, Hungary, the Czech Republic and Bulgaria, chaining them again to the shackles of servitude imposed by communism. The summary of a pre-announced era: pride comes before the crash. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and activate notifications, to receive new videos. Thanks.